Hey kiddos, welcome to day one of Squanto. I'm super excited to be able to introduce you guys to Squanto. Us in third grade love reading this with our students every year, and we're so excited for you guys to be able to experience it as well. We will be reading this book together, so make sure that for the next couple weeks that you have this book and you're taking care of this book, and then we will read this with you. So we're super excited for you guys to learn about Squanto. So today I get to introduce you to Squanto and who he is, and also who the author of our story is as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that PowerPoint up for you kiddos. All right, so today we're going to be learning a little bit more about Squanto. First, our author his name is Clyde Robert Beulah. Everybody say that. Clyde Robert Beulah. This is what Clyde Robert Beulah looks like, and so he's the author of our story, which means he wrote the words, and someone else is the illustrator of our story. He has written over 20 books for children, so he is known for writing books for children. He was born in 1914 in the state of Missouri, which is in the United States of America. But he did die in 2007, so the author of our book is no longer alive. He did write Squanto in 1954, so this book has been around for a really long time. It's been around for 66 years, which is pretty incredible that here we are reading this book again when it was written 66 years ago. So just because a book is old doesn't mean that it's not a good book to read, and you guys will just absolutely love this book. So Squanto is a real person. He was a person that lived a really long time ago. Now, Clyde Robert Beulah did not live with Squanto. He never met Squanto because this book was not written when Squanto was living. Squanto is a real person, and this story is a biography of his life. A biography is a book that's written about someone else. And so Clyde Robert Beulah did research, and he learned about Squanto, and then he wrote a book about Squanto. So this book is considered a biography of Squanto's life. Squanto was born in 1585. So as you can imagine, that was a really long time ago, 1585. That was almost little less than 500 years ago. So his life was a really, really long time ago. America didn't become a country until 1776, almost 200 years after Squanto was born. So Squanto was here before white men came here, and he lived with his people in America. Squanto did die in 1622. So this is, he was a member of the Patuxet Indian tribe, or some people say Patuxet. So Patuxet or Patuxet Indian tribe. And we will learn where that was located. This is a painting of Squanto. Now, you have to remember that back in 1585 to 1622, there would have been no photography. So we don't have any actual pictures of Squanto because Squanto was an Indian that lived during a time of no camera. So everything would have been done by painting. So the setting of our story. Where does our story take place? Our story is going to take place in the state of Massachusetts. Now, when Squanto was living, it wouldn't have been considered the state of Massachusetts. But now that we have named all of our states, we do know that Squanto lives in the state of Massachusetts. Here is a map of the entire United States of America. We live in Ohio here. Massachusetts almost looks like a little boot that comes out. It's in yellow here. So the state of Massachusetts is right along the Atlantic Ocean. Perfect for boats and things to be coming in when they first are coming to America. Squanto is going to live in this section here, which is a little bay, and that's where boats began coming when they were landing in America. So again, it is in the state of Massachusetts. If you pull that up a little closer and I blow up the state of Massachusetts, this is what it looks like. So again, we're going to be talking about this area here in particular, and it's actually going to be in this little area here, Plymouth, which will come into play in our story as well later on in our story. But right here is where Squanto would have grown up. And again, this is the whole state of Massachusetts blown up. So this is the Patuxet village, or the Patuxet village, whatever your teacher says. is pronounced. The Patuxent village had 10 houses. So this isn't a community that has a lot of houses by any means. It only had 10 houses. They were not teepees, okay? When we think of Indians, a lot of times we think all Indians lived in teepees. Well, that's not true. Most teepee Indians that lived in teepees were in the west, so they were out farther west by California and out that way. These Indians did not live in teepees. These Indians would have lived in what we call wigwams. Wigwams. Here's a picture of a wigwam. So wigwams are made out of bark sometimes they also will be made out of grass mats. You can see here that they bend small pieces of like twigs and sticks, and they shape that form of that wigwam. It would be one room, so here's your entry, and then you can see some rocks on the floor. These rocks here would be a fireplace. There would be a hole in the top of the wigwam right above the fireplace so that that smoke could travel out. So again, the Indians that we're talking about do not live in teepees. They do not. They live in something called a wigwam. This is another picture of a wigwam here. Again, you could see the bark on the bottom and the sides here, but it's a little bit different on the top as far as that covering. But again, you can see that wigwam. You can see that fireplace in the inside. Here is another one that's made out of more of a grass mat type structure. So instead of using the bark from trees, they actually would use reeds or weeds and put them together to make a mat. And then they would lay the mat over the frame of the wigwam. This is a wigwam that's just getting started. So you can see the details that they put into the wigwam to keep them strong, because these are their homes. They're going to take those branches again and they're going to bend them into the shape that they would want. And then they're also going to take those reeds or those weeds and they are going to almost use it like a rope, and they're going to tie those together. And once they're tied together, they're going to add all of those different kinds of barks or grass mats to the outside of the structure to protect them from the rain. Also, beside each wigwam was cornfield. Corn is huge in the Indian culture. People that lived in Europe at the time actually didn't know what corn was, and so it wasn't until they started coming to America that they actually learned what corn was and how to grow it and things like that. And so Indians used corn all the time. It was their main source of food. And throughout the story, they'll talk about the Indians eating corn and cornmeal for breakfast, which is ground up corn. So corn is very, very important to this Indian tribe. All right, kiddos, I hope that you love reading Squanto. We'll talk to you soon.